Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander. Hobbits are relatable because they love food, right? I went to the Chinese buffet last night, feels like the riders of Rohan are trying to gallop out of my colon. Listen man, I know all the rage is talking about the precons, but I want to talk about the precons. And this precon right here, right out of the box, balanced, focused, perfectly playable. Honestly, there isn't too much to do to make it really hum. The commander-partner pair is low to the ground and solid, just like a couple Hobbits should be, dude. But there are some clunky cards and some cards we can take out. And let's dive right in, but first, feed me your food, buddy. Feed me. Don't keep your food to yourself. Feed the need, scratch the itch, and subscribe to the old Better Commander, where we make your decks better with butter fresh out of the udder. First up, we got Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, white and black for a legendary creature, Halfling Scout. It's a 1/3. Partner with Sam, Loyal Attendant. We'll get to him in a second, dude. He's got Vigilance. Whenever Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit attacks, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. Then if Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring has tempted you 2 or more times this game, draw a card. For some reason, the art directors for this game made Frodo look like a baby. All the Hobbits look like babies. I don't know why, dude, but that's what it is. If you ever wanted a baby at the helm of your commander deck, this one's for you. It's a 2-mana commander with a small hoop to jump through that lets you draw a card. It's fantastic. And then we have Sam, Loyal Attendant, 1 green and a white for a legendary creature, Halfling Peasant. It's a 2/4. He's got partner with Frodo, of course he does. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a food token. Activated abilities of foods you control cost 1 less to activate. This guy looks like Chunk from the Goonies, and that's alright with me. This is such a linchpin value engine when combined with Frodo. Turn 3 or 4, your value engine's online, you're gaining 3 life, and you're drawing at least 1 card per turn. And man, these guys are small. They don't look particularly threatening, which is both flavorful and advantageous for us. Is someone going to waste removal on either of these things? I don't know, dude. You just recast them if they do. These two are the most generically powerful pair to lead the precon, so let's take a look at the lieutenants. Bilbo Baggins, greatest little hobbit of them all, dude. White, black, and a green for a legendary creature, Halfling Rogue. It's a 2/3. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. It has this crazy activated ability. Basically, you got to get to 111 life and then you win the game. I don't think you'll get up to 111 life, dude. But that's cool, I guess. I mean, it's very flavorful. This guy just generates additional value and ensures we have our trigger on Frodo. Kinda neat. What would a Hobbit deck be without Merry and Pippin, dude? We got the Warden of Isengard, 1 green and a white for a legendary creature, Halfling Advisor. It's a 1/4. Partners with Pippin, Warden of Isengard. Whenever one or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with the lifelink. This ability triggers only once per turn. There are some ways to get instant speed foods in the deck, but with Frodo and Sam at the helm, this is just good old token synergy. It's kind of sad it just triggers once per turn though. And look at this guy surveying his kingdom. You got Pippin out here, black and a green for a legendary creature, Halfling Advisor. It's a 2/2. Has 1 and tap, create a food token. That's fantastic. Has tap, sacrifice 4 foods. Other creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Speaking of which, this guy has great activated ability that makes food, which is the only reason anyone ever comes over to my house is because I also make food. Alright man, let's go through some notable reprints. We got the Birds of Paradise out here. You can never have too many Birds of Paradise. And this is such a pretty direction to take a birds, dude. It's like a little iridescent hummingbird. I love it. Then we have Toxic Deluge, goes great in this deck. This is always a pricey card and is one of the most efficient and customizable board wipes around. We're gaining quite a bit of life in this deck, so it shouldn't hit us too hard. Then we have Chromatic Lantern, always good to see. The art is awesome, reminiscent of the old Rankin Bass movies and Hobbit illustrations, very fanciful, I love it. Anguished Unmaking has been reprinted into the dirt lately, but that's not a bad thing. This is a really efficient silver bullet and great in this deck. 3 life is pretty inconsequential and the art is awesome on this thing. Alright man, let's take a look at some of the new cards. Now, I don't think a lot of these cards are going to set the world on fire, but some of them are fantastic and surprising in this deck specifically. Farmer Cotton, dude. X green and a white for a legendary creature, Halfling Peasant. It's a 1/1. When this guy enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 white halfling creature tokens and X food tokens. Listen man, this is one of the best cards in the deck. Fits perfectly and feeds 2 of the main strats here, food and tokens. Then we have Gollum, Obsessed Stalker, 1 in the black for a legendary creature, Halfling Horror. It's a 1/1 with Skulk. Look at this guy skulking in the night, dude, like a dang raccoon reading my mail. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent dealt combat damage this game by a creature named Gollum, Obsessed Stalker loses life equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. There are times when you're gaining 9 life in a turn in this deck, sacrificing 3 foods, and this incidental drain is one of the great ways to take out your opponent's life totals as the game goes on. Like we said before, a 1/1 with Skulk doesn't seem that threatening until you dome 2 players for 12 life at the end step. Look at this guy, the greatest of the Eagles, dude. I love the Eagles. 4 and a white for a legendary creature, Bird Noble. It's a 5/5 with flying. Whenever this guy attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white bird creature token with flying. And whenever this creature attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. Kind of a theme in this deck. Tokens and giving evasion. This is a cool card. It's pretty beefy in the air as well. Big 5/5 swinging in. This triggers at each end step, so getting 2 of these birds is not unheard of per turn cycle. Lobelia, defender of bag end, dude. I don't know what, some of the hobbits, they made their feet like aggressively hairy. Like they could have just given her big feet with like little wisps of hair on it, but this, I mean, that's like a dang squirrel crawled up there. 2 and a black for a legendary creature, halfling citizen. It's a 2/2. When she enters the battlefield, look at the top card of each opponent's library, exile those cards face down. Has tap, sacrifice an artifact. Until end of turn, you may play a card exiled with Lobelia without paying its mana cost, or each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That ability can be pretty powerful if you hit something good. The drain effect can also be additional value as you create foods during the normal course of the game. Now this isn't necessarily new or exclusive to this precon, it's in the main set, but I do want to give a shout out to the Mirkwood Bats here, dude. This card feeds into our drain effects from all the foods, dude, coming in and going out. Eat too much foods, bats will come in the night and give your tummy just a big rumble, dude. Does the art on some of these cards seem like unfinished or something? This card kind of, the art seems a little weird, maybe it's just me. It's another fantastic horse, dude. You got 4 and a green for the motivated pony. It's creature horse, it's a 3/3 with trample and haste. Whenever this guy attacks, attacking creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. If a food entered the battlefield under your control this turn, untap those creatures, they get an additional +2/+2 until end of turn. So basically you're giving these things vigilance and +3/+3 if you got your value engine online, dude. This is a banger, my friends, because our old friend Samwise is making food every dang turn. Prize pig, dude. This is what my aunt called me right up until I turned 18, dude. 1 and a green for a creature boar, it's a 0/3. Whenever you gain life, put that many ribbon counters on prize pig, then if there are 3 or more ribbon counters on prize pig, remove those counters and untap it. So basically if you sack a food, dude, you're getting an extra mana. Has tap to add 1 mana of any color. This is another one that looks oddly airbrushed. This can be a real mana engine in this deck specifically, or a green life gain deck. I love this card. What is going on here, dude? We got Rapacious Guest, 2 and a black for a creature halfling citizen. It's a 2/2 with menace. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on Rapacious Guest, and when Rapacious Guest leaves the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to its power. Listen, man, what is that hobbit on the left doing here, dude? What is he staring at, brother? I think this art depicts some kind of a felony going down here, dude. That's a hostile work environment if I ever saw one. Great card in this deck, and my new spirit animal. We have another interesting card here, the Gaffer, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, halfling peasant. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. This is old Hamfast, dude, the weirdest looking dude on the potato ranch. In this deck, I mean, this is amazing. I'll bet we see this effect again soon. It's square and white's color pie and is pretty rad. What about this guy, Treebeard, gracious host, 2 green and a white for a legendary creature, Tree Folk. It's a 0/5 with trample and ward 2. When he enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens. Fantastic. Whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on target halfling or tree folk. This is so amazing in this deck, dude. Sack 3 foods and this is suddenly a 9/5, or you can slap them onto your commander. I used to have a beard like that. I had to shave it off because of COVID. Then we have Assemble the Ent Moot. 3 and a green for an enchantment. Creatures you control have reach. Sacrifice this thing, create 3 tapped XX green tree folk creature tokens, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Put a reach counter on each of them. This is kind of an instant board state at the end game. You're going to have like foods lying around, and after a board wipe, this can get you 3 9/9s, and that's pretty dope, I guess. The art is cool at least. Alright, let's get into upgrades, dude. This is an actual illustration of me pondering this deck. Upgrading this thing was a little tough. There were only about 11 cards that needed to come out. Most of them were on the top end, cards like Generous Ent that don't really do enough. If we're spending that much mana, let's get a more impressive effect. How about Celestine out there? Dude, the Living Saint, 4 and a white for a legendary creature, human warrior. It's a 3/4 with flying and lifelink. Has healing tears. At the beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. If we're following our game plan, right, we cast this second main phase. The second tier on the ring tempts you. Whenever Frodo attacks, draw a card, discard a card. will have already happened, so we can pitch a mana value 3 creature and get it back at the end step, dude. This card was tailor-made for this deck about hobbits, and this is a power armor wearing Psyker from Warhammer 40k. You gotta rip the band-aid off, dude. The worlds are colliding. Whatever, man. Hobbits mixed with gunships. That's the way, buddy. And speaking of which, Thunderhawk Gunship gives all your creatures flying and brings its own crew. Load the hobbits up into the gunship with the Living Saint, dude. Fly that thing directly to the volcano, blow it up, put the ring on a missile, dude. Launch it from the gunship into Mount Doom. And from the main set, we have a ton of food synergy, so we might as well stick in old Samwise Gamgee here, dude. He's reading to his kids. What a great guy. Super cheap, makes a lot of food, and he brings his little buddy Peregrine Took, dude. These are more food token creators that fit really well in this deck. How about Thalia and the Gitrog Monster? 1 white, black, and a green for a legendary creature, Human Frog Horror. It's a 4/4 with First Strike and Death Touch. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever Thalia and the Gitrog Monster attack, sacrifice a creature or land, then draw a card. Listen, hear me out. We have room in this deck for some generically powerful stack pieces, and this is a real engine, dude. A great blocker and a cool frog. With Frodo out there, you're drawing card, extra card each turn, and you're drawing and discarding cards. You need something to do with those lands, dude. Come on. How about old Doran here, the Siege Tower, white, black, and a green for a legendary creature, Tree Folk Shaman. It's a 0/5. Each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Come on, dude, this Tree Folk Shaman goes right in there. He's hanging out with the Ents. There literally isn't one creature that has greater power than toughness in this whole deck, and our 2 commanders are suddenly a little more threatening out there. Academy Manufactor, 3 generic mana for an artifact creature, assembly worker. It's a 1/3. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. This guy goes in so many decks, and this is definitely one of those decks. Ramp, draw, foods. Gandalf made this guy in his backyard when he was dating a Thunderhawk Gunship, buddy. Oh man, don't forget about Crested Sunmare. Hidden synergy with that motivated pony brother, even better. We're making horses, and this is Aragorn's favorite horse, dude, old Cresty. Then we have a Lathiel, the Bounteous Dawn, 2 and a green and a white for a legendary creature, Unicorn. It's a 2/2 with a lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures. Very majestic art in this new set. This is an amazing value piece in this deck and beginning our board. Vito, you got the old Uncle Vito. He's a making the sauce. He's a draining your foes. This guy goes in so many decks and lends a little more drain to our deck. This can actually be a win condition late game if you have a big enough board. Then we have the Blossoming Bog Beast, 4 and a green for a creature beast. It's a 3/3. Whenever this guy attacks, you gain 2 life. Then creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Not quite as quick as a motivated pony, but a really powerful anthem that should be pumping your team for at least +8/+8 and giving them tramp stamps all over the bog, buddy. Everybody loves Cambal, dude. He's a console of allocation, 1 white and a black for a legendary creature, Human Advisor. It's a 2/3. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This fella's over here just slapping everybody, dude, shutting down stormy decks and wearing the ultimate hat of Magic the Gathering. He looks like Saruman's cousin from down south of Isengard, dude. All in all, this is a very balanced, powerful, and focused deck right out of the box. Can be upgraded very cheaply. There are a million includes depending on what you want to lean into. The mana base isn't bad, but could definitely use a Triome and some other duels. There's a fair amount of tap lands in there that can come out, and some pain lands and filter lands that could easily be slotted in. This is a great beginner deck that does a lot in the early turns, but may have a hard time finishing off opponents. That's why I juiced it up a little bit. And the additions only come to about 25 bucks, dude. Very cool design, Hobbit babies all day, every day. This is Nicky G from Better Commander signing off.